Hello, everyone. I am very excited to welcome all of you here to the Higher Ed Dreaming 2022. My name is Kathy Zimmerman. You will also hear me called KZ. I work here at George Mason University, and I'm a member of the Higher Education Advisory Council. I'm also the moderator for your session today, and we are really excited to be welcoming you to the conference. And we will be now learning about engaging with students at scale. And there's an app for that from Susan Ulrich at the University of Colorado. Susan is kind enough to bring us her 10 years of experience within Salesforce and the different verticals that she's worked in. So I am very excited to hear from her. I will be monitoring the chat and the Q&A, which can be found to the right part of your screen. So I'm going to turn this over to Susan and let's get started. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy. And thanks everyone for tuning in today. I'm excited to share with you two great applications that we're using at CU to engage with students at scale, MassMailer and Mowgli. So again, my name is Susan Ulrich, and I'm the Enterprise CRM Program Manager for Student Success at CU Boulder. Next month, I'll be celebrating 6 years at the University of Colorado and 18 years working on the Salesforce platform. I have to say, it's been an amazing ride. I don't want to spend too much time on this slide, but I will mention that I love sharing this dashboard, as I think it really represents both the size and breadth of our Salesforce implementation. I'll be speaking more on the functionality behind some of these metrics in just a bit. Here's a quick overview of our agenda today. First, I'm going to introduce the features of CU's Salesforce-based student success application, Buff Portal Advising. Next, I'll go over our vendor selection process and share how we determined MassMailer and Mowgli were the best fit for us. Then I'll share the details of our implementation and how we optimize these applications for our users. And finally, I'll talk about our product roadmap, how we're expanding usage of these apps, and what we're working on next. So I want to start off by saying that Salesforce is widely used across all 4 of our CU campuses. This session is specific to our Buff Portal Advising application and its related features, which is primarily focused on student success initiatives. Launched in 2015 as an advising app for the College of Arts and Sciences, BPA now supports academic advisors from all of our undergraduate colleges, with the exception of the business school, and we partner with them to ensure accessibility of data across our orgs. It's also expanded to include several other business units and departments that interact with students, including academic coaching, faculty advising, career services, continuing education, athletics, education abroad, units within student affairs, and even peer mentors. We are integrated with Campus Solutions, Canvas, our LMS platform, and Qualtrics, as well as other source systems across campus. And while our org is highly customized, it's been designed to ensure scalability for adding both new user groups and departments, as well as new features. You can see some of those key features or utilities included within Buff Portal Advising here. We have a custom calendaring solution for scheduling and booking of student appointments. We have tracking for individual student interactions. This includes logs, emails, text messages, referrals, alerts, and advisor outreach. In addition to appointment and log history, we maintain and report on a wide variety of student-related data, including class schedules, student groups, service indicators, placement assessments, and many others. We have a faculty community for capturing course alert submissions, which are also integrated into Buff Portal Advising. Check-in, check-out uses student card reader swipes or QR codes to manage advising appointment check-ins, tutoring center visits, and student event attendance. And finally, mass email and bulk SMS communications, which I'll be focusing on today. So there's always a risk of buyer's remorse when implementing new apps in your org. We put in a lot of work up front to ensure we're getting the best possible solutions to fit our needs. So I thought it might be helpful to give you a brief overview of our vendor selection process. The first step is an obvious one. We document all known user requirements. But we also try to anticipate what future requirements or use cases might come up. And this isn't always easy to do. For example, the ability to use merge fields in text messages wasn't identified by our users, but given that they're widely used for mass emails, we needed to be sure that that feature was on our radar. In addition to user requirements, there's always a set of CRM team requirements that we have to consider. For example, ease of use might not be called out specifically by our users, but we know it's critical to successful adoption. Ease of customization, data security, and apps that are native to Salesforce are others that come to mind. Using both sets of these requirements as our guide, we then schedule the vendor demos. We met with 3 mass email and 3 text vendors as part of our selection process. Following the vendor sessions, we held internal meetings where we reviewed what we learned, sent over any follow-up questions that came out, and asked for customer references. We also discussed customer service. Was the vendor responsive to our questions? Were they friendly and easy to work with? And finally, we talked about how we might be able to fill in any feature gaps using standard workflows and triggers that weren't offered as part of the out-of-the-box solution. Once we decided on our vendor, we began the implementation process. This is a screenshot of our custom wizard in Buff Portal Advising, used for both mass mailer and Mowgli messaging. Since BPA is a customized Salesforce application, we were able to add some neat feature enhancements while still utilizing objects and processes that are core to the Salesforce platform. Designed for use with mass mailer back in 2017, we were able to seamlessly replicate this wizard for Mowgli when we added that app 4 years later. Custom permission sets allow us to limit access and visibility to tools as needed. For example, only a small number of our users can send bulk SMS messages, but all users can view those campaign and campaign member details. I'll walk you through the steps. So first, the user creates their campaign. We require a minimum number of fields to keep the process as simple as possible. We use campaigns for tracking in both apps to ensure consistency of reporting and to leverage the storage benefits of using campaign members versus custom objects. The second step is really our secret sauce. In addition to standard Salesforce reports, users can upload a CSV file for student lists generated in external systems, or they can use one of their criteria. This custom feature includes filtering by roster, college, program plan, student group, service indicators, GPA, credit hours, and even course enrollments. We sometimes refer to criteria as reports on steroids. And with this kind of robust filtering, our users can ensure that the right students are always getting the right messaging at the right time. With a single click, the third step takes users directly to either the mass mailer or Mowgli app within Salesforce. And I'll show you what those look like next. This is a screenshot of the mass mailer outreach wizard. Campaign members are already pre-populated from BPA. Then users follow a simple set of steps to build or select their template, add attachments, choose their sender details, and finally send their message. I love that Mass Mailer has org-wide defaults we can set right in the app, including the ability to have collapsible sections within their wizard. This allows for a simple and streamlined user experience for our non-marketing users. Our users only see what they need without having to click through features they don't use. The Mowgli bulk SMS interface is even simpler. We built a flow to customize our campaign naming convention, making it easy for users to search for their audience. Once your campaign members have been added, all that's left is to build or select your SMS template and send. It's almost too easy. Here's another screenshot from our Buff Portal advising application, where you can view the full history of a student's mass communications. This is similar to contact campaign history, but as you can see on the left side of the screen, a custom search feature has been added to help advisors quickly and easily filter these communications by date, owner, business unit, or even campaign type. This same filtering is available for individual interactions, which include student logs, emails, alerts, referrals, and outreach that I mentioned earlier. And we use standard Salesforce cases for tracking those. I think it's important to note that just like Salesforce itself, no app is designed to meet all of your needs right out of the box. We use both clicks and code customizations to ensure a perfect fit. Some examples include a simple workflow rule adds email open date to a custom campaign member field when status is updated to open. And a trigger was built to map email subject and body into campaign fields, so our users are able to view that messaging for future reference. This also allows us to save on storage by deleting those individual mass mailer email send records. And for Mowgli, a flow is used to map SMS status back to campaign member status for tracking successful send rates. We also set up a Bitly account to shorten URLs, and a custom field on the campaign is updated to capture Bitly click-through rates. SMS opt-outs are updated via Process Builder, and because our source system data is inconsistent, we added additional workflows, allowing maximum flexibility on mobile phone format for improving those send rates. So finally, I wanted to share with you some of what we're working on next. Another great thing about these apps is that they both continue to expand their offerings, allowing us to explore new areas beyond our initial use cases. We just recently began expanding our use of mass mailer beyond mass messaging. Last fall, we implemented a flow to send a curated list of help resources to students based on their primary college enrollment when they received a course alert. Prior to this, we used campaigns, but waited until all of the alerts were submitted before sending, sometimes delaying those student notifications 2 to 3 weeks. Tracking open and click rates were an important component of measuring this outreach, so being able to use mass mailer was a perfect fit. And because this app is native to Salesforce, we're able to report on open and click rates by college, class level, and even course. We're currently in the process of analyzing other email workflows that might be valuable for tracking open and click rates. And as you can imagine, we've had lots of interest in texting as a way to meet students where they are, their phones. We're onboarding two teams next month who'll be doing one-to-one text messaging in addition to bulk SMS. I think this will be a great test to see how we might manage that feature at scale. We're also exploring using flows for use cases related to automated messaging, appointment reminders, check-in notifications for online meetings, no-show notifications, and other triggered actions. We've also discussed how we might create opt-in options or user preferences for more targeted audiences. But for now, since we're still in a pilot phase, we're keeping our messages focused specifically on student retention efforts. So that is the end of my presentation. Thanks everyone for being here. And Kathy, I'm not sure if we have time for some questions.
I think we have about 5 minutes for questions, and there are a few questions. And so I'm going to go, hold on. And Kyla just put a question in the session chat. And so before I go try and move it over, I'm going to go ahead and take Kyla's question. Do you have admins or technologists who are doing tasks such as creating the text messages, or the general business user is doing that?
It's a bit of a combination of both. So Mowgli does have while you can send an unlimited number of characters, we are charged per 160 characters. So there, with text messaging at a higher level, we actually had several decisions, right? So the content had to be related to student retention. There has to be a call to action. So my team does manage that Bitly account so we can track those open and click rates. So the general content of the message might be sent to us from the stakeholder, but we might finesse it a little bit to make sure we're within that 160 character limit. And then if a Bitly link is needed, and generally speaking, we are including those so we can really track that engagement. That my team also helps with those.
I love the making sure that there is always the call to action, because that is the whole point of sending the message. It shouldn't just be, hi, have a nice day. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the next question that was sent in. I apologize for my little rambling there. Is the student mass contact history in Mass Mailer, or is it inside Mowgli? Do your users have the ability to see this history inside Salesforce?
Yes. So what I was showing you in that slide is actually nothing more than campaign history, standard Salesforce campaigns. So our users do not need to have access to Mowgli or Mass Mailer in terms of an administrative piece. So I think what you're referring to, like a marketing cloud, in order to see a lot of those open and click rates, you might have to have access to sort of the back end of marketing cloud. Ours are all customer facing. We use standard Salesforce campaigns, and all of the information, the open rates, the click rates, the successful sends are all on the campaign. And the screenshot I showed you of Buff Portal Advising is nothing more than a customized version of campaign history.
Awesome.
Is that
it does?
Okay.
Yep. I think you hit that nail right on the head. And so the next question is, I'm kind of curious, when the CSV file is uploaded by the user to say this is the population, is that CSV file only good for a certain quantity of time, or for that one particular campaign, or is it actually brought in as contacts and it's available for future use?
So the CSV file, which I have to shout out to my dev team for that one. That is just such a cool feature that we've been able to really replicate in a lot of different places in our app. But it's just one column with the student ID. So one thing I love about that is you don't have to know the contact ID, right? Which is very, very challenging if you're talking about external systems. So it is a static list. It is meant to be a one-time, so it's not really used for the purposes of like drip campaigns or other things like that. But where that is so useful is if we have to get a list from, our campus solution system or some other external database where maybe we just don't have all the information we need on a report in Salesforce. It's a really helpful feature, but it is not meant to be dynamic. It is for one-time sends. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. And I think there might be time to try and sneak in one more question.
Okay.
When you were talking about gathering all those requirements and you end up with this list of requirements, it's very hard in an implementation to meet every requirement. So yes. I'm just curious how you came up with balancing which requirements made it in or who had to get sacrificed.
Oh boy. Well, there's a lot to that, but I will. So what we literally put, I know for when we did Mass Mailer, we literally put a grid together and presented to stakeholders, of the 12 requirements you have, you're absolutely right. I'll give you a perfect example. Mass mailer, when we initially implemented it, did not have attachments, the ability to add attachments. But it did meet every other user requirement. And 3 years later or 2 years later, mass mailer implemented attachments. So I think that's when I talk about like knowing what the current requirements are and also trying to anticipate future. At the time, I think the mass mailer team, we said there may have even been we're working on that feature, right? But I think it comes down to a combination of working with stakeholders and our team to say, what are the ones we can sacrifice for now? It's a balancing act. It really is.
Okay, that's awesome. And I think we're at the end. So I do want to encourage everybody. Thank you very much, Susan, for joining us today and doing such an awesome session. I hope everybody can go up to the agenda or goes to their left and picks on their My Agenda and sees us in one of the next sessions, as well as taking advantage of a networking booth or one of the booths from our great sponsors. So thank you again, Susan, and thank you everybody for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Bye, y'all.
Thanks.